Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time Saturday night. It's episode number 808. Damian Nelson standing here alongside David Hero. And it is time for Be the Booker here in this week's edition of Primetime. As you know, Backlash is this Sunday night from Chicago on pay-per-view. So over the course of tonight's Primetime and tomorrow's Feedback Friday, we're going to be covering the Be the Booker process for the event. And as you know, in this segment, we will take the pencil, if you will, and David will give you his impression as to, or his belief rather, as to how the show should be booked. Not necessarily how it will be, but how it should be booked.
How it should be booked, absolutely.
And we're going to start up with a singles matchup, which features two tremendous wrestling athletes. That'll be Shinsuke Nakamura going one-on-one with the endorsed Dolph Ziggler.
And this is the best matchup possible for Shinsuke Nakamura.
How so?
Because he's the king of strong style going up against the ultimate big bumper. Dolph Ziggler can fly over the ring for Shinsuke, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
That's called selling, right?
Selling, yeah.
Yes.
What a novel idea.
Yes.
You know, and this is the match that is going to set the tone for Nakamura, because obviously the pay-per-view vignettes are built around him. His music, his appearance.
He's on the poster.
Everything. It is all about Nakamura. And him and Dolph Ziggler are going to have a hell of a match. I expect it to go at least 10 to 12 minutes long. But the end is going to be Nakamura getting the victory and showing the world that SmackDown is not going to be all about Nakamura.
Is this Nakamura's first official WWE SmackDown matchup? I think it is.
Televised, yes.
Televised. Yes. Interesting. So not just because Ziggler is endorsed, but because you truly think Nakamura needs this win, are you picking him to win?
Well, if he comes out of the gate and Ziggler, I could see Ziggler getting the upset and saying, see, he's nothing, a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
But then you want to give Nakamura a full head of steam right out of the gate. Let him be the phenom. Let him be the new guy that's going to roll and do something special.
It's going to be a tremendous wrestling contest.
The only challenge they're going to have with Nakamura is his communication skills.
How so?
Because his promos are choppy.
Yeah.
Not like Mr. Yamaguchi choppy.
Choppy, his PP.
But it's just like he's hard to understand.
Yeah.
He's hard to follow. And unless they're going to have the JAP on the bottom.
It's SAP, secondary audio program.
I thought it was Spanish audio. So
no,
I went J
secondary.
for Japanese American. No. Oh. Whoops.
Next matchup, folks, will be a six-person tag team matchup. 3-on-3 women's action as Naomi teams with Charlotte and Becky Lynch to take on the welcoming committee of Natalya, Carmella, and Tamina. And let's not forget, they will be flanked by James Ellsworth.
How does this guy still have a freaking job?
It truly bothers you, doesn't it?
No, good for him. You know, I mean, talk about, he has the best gig in all of wrestling.
Yeah.
He gets to travel with the chicks. He gets paid to do it, and he's not taking bumps.
That's very true.
Right?
And if he is, he's taking bumps from
the girls.
Yes.
You know, so good for him. This match is going to be interesting. Basically, this match is going to set up Charlotte and Naomi.
Well, Charlotte said something very interesting on Tuesday Night SmackDown, saying that after this matchup, the Queen was going to come back for her crown.
Yes.
Well, Naomi has what can perceivably be that crown that she's talking about.
Yeah.
So,
I'm glad that Charlotte has not lost focus of what she's supposed to be doing, and that is to be the most dominant women wrestler of all time. But I got to believe that the heels, the welcoming committee, are going to get the win. They need it because Carmella's done nothing. Tamina's now back. Natty's been stuck in neutral.
Yeah.
I fully expect Naomi and Charlotte to bump heads, collide something.
In this match and this night?
And one of those two are going to get pinned and lose it for their team.
Easy setup. Where does that leave Becky Lynch?
Well, she'll be around somewhere. You know? I mean, we can only do two at a time.
Yeah.
We can't do three girls at once, but we'll figure out two of them.
Next matchup on Backlash Sunday on the WWE Network will be the Tag Team Championships on the line as the Usos defend against Breezango, Tyler Breeze, and Fandango. And Breezango gets yet another win this past Tuesday night on SmackDown, but the Usos with some more auditory ownership of Breezango.
The Usos are the best thing going.
5 days?
They are fantastic. Their in-ring presence is top-notch. Their promos are fantastic. It almost reminds me, though, Breezango almost reminds me of the New Age Outlaws.
Really? I thought that was Enzo and Cass.
Two mid-card guys, job guys, put together, get a little steam, a little momentum. I could see Breezango beating the Usos.
Really? And becoming tag team champions of the world?
There's a chance of it. It could be a big fluke or whatnot. I think they'll be competitive, but right now, the Usos have just been way too good, way too dominant, way too strong. I expect them to leave Chicago with the belts.
All right, folks. Well,
but I would not be surprised by a Breezango upset.
It's interesting to say the least, folks, and more of Be the Booker continues tomorrow on Feedback Friday, which, as you know, is available on Fight TV. That's F-I-T-E, Fight, and our YouTube channel, and also at PWRshow.com. We're going to talk about the main event matchups between Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal, and also AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens, which you say could be an interesting matchup, David.
Absolutely. Could be the match.
That continues tomorrow on Feedback Friday, but tonight here on Primetime, we've still got this week's WWE report, our Raw report, and WWR report, our SmackDown report, hot news, and DWHS. All that right after this here on Channel 24.
Hey everybody, I'm Sunny, the original diva of the WWE and 2011 WWE Hall of Famer, and you're watching Pro Wrestling Report on My 24.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, prime time Saturday night here on Channel 14 in Milwaukee. I went back old school last segment, David.
You did. I don't get it.
Well, I just, I'd rather not be here with you, and being forced to be here with you.
You're not forced. You can leave whenever you want.
No, you see, I'm needed here.
Why? I can do this. I have a run sheet. I can just read off of here the same thing you do every week.
That would be the worst possible production that would not be under the PWR banner. It would have to be under some other banner.
Max Sports I'll use their banner.
That's defunct. It is time, though, folks, for us to go into this week's WWE Raw report. And Raw active on Monday night, however, a bit still brutal to go through. Yeah, that was the last segment, Be the Booker. We talked about Backlash. We did part 1 of it.
Oh.
Yeah, so now we're in the second segment, which is the Raw report, which was a show that had a lot going on, and it was a long 3 hours this past Monday night, as it has been for the last few weeks, ladies and gentlemen. But the show ended with Roman Reigns getting a big win over Finn Balor.
No, that's not how it ended. It ended with Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt.
Oh, well, I forgot about that match.
You just got
that meant nothing to me.
You just got Finn on the brain, don't you?
Well, I mean, Finn Balor, his big WWE 24 special. You get a chance to watch that this week.
It was fantastic.
Talking about his plight and giving some more character and background to Finn Balor. But we talk about the matchup between Reigns and Balor because a lot of people, at least according to you, David Hero, had some challenges understanding why Roman Reigns would get a win over Finn Balor, who, for the first time, Finn Balor acknowledging that he never lost the WWE Raw Universal Championship and that he does indeed need and deserve a chance at that title. So I thought it was interesting he brought that up, but then later on in the night he would lose to Roman Reigns.
And as he should lose to Roman Reigns right now, Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman have been tearing it up the last several weeks.
When's the last time Roman won a match? I don't even know.
It's been a while. But Braun Strowman is now put on the shelf because of the vicious beating from Roman Reigns, who has anger issues. And he's turned into the Incredible Hulk.
Okay? He wasn't green.
No. But so you have the big beast, Braun Strowman, on the sidelines now, 4 to 6, 8 weeks, whatever it's going to be.
6 months.
Roman Reigns, no, it's not going to be that long. I think they're lying. Roman Reigns rolling through Braun Strowman.
Fake news.
It doesn't matter, fake news or not. It's pro wrestling. And now he's going to wrestle the 187-pound Finn Balor.
Mm-hmm. And the relevance of his 187 pounds is what?
It's a big difference because I
said relevance.
He just took out the big 375-pounder and put him on the shelf.
Okay.
If he can't be the guy 200 pounds less than that, then there's an issue.
We saw the video vignette twice on Monday night. All that Braun Strowman did to Roman Reigns didn't take him out for 6 months, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is. Yet a couple of chair shots to the arm takes Braun Strowman out for that long?
Because Roman Reigns obviously has Kryptonian DNA, much like myself.
He didn't destroy Braun Strowman, did Roman. He did not.
He beat the piss out of him.
More so than Strowman did him.
Yes.
I didn't see Roman flip him over in an ambulance.
But he was strapped in. He had a seatbelt on. He hit him with a chair at least 20 times. Roman Reigns needed that win.
Is Finn Balor at all damaged by this loss?
No. He lost to a top guy. Much like Roman Reigns was not damaged when Finn Balor beat him last year.
Oh, Finn Balor brought that up too.
Yeah.
Well, folks, some other surprising victories would occur on the show, including Alicia Fox getting her first substantial win in a very long time over an already in the ring Sasha Banks. We talked about Sasha Banks last week here on our programming and how her star may have fallen a little bit. Is that this, or is this just more so for the elevation of Alicia Fox?
It's to elevate Alicia Fox, because you just can't keep having that vicious cycle of Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Nia Jax, Sasha Banks. You need to get some new flavor in there.
Flavor?
And Alicia Fox
Grape or red?
brings that. I'm not sure what flavor Alicia Fox would be, but it would be good. And Alicia Fox she's fantastic. I mean, she's a former women's champion.
10 years in the company, by the way.
Yeah. And she's great, and she knows how to sell, and she makes it believable. And what a great win for her. I mean, she's been a company player from day one.
She has been. And it shows she's probably got a great attitude, right? Because she's been there that long.
Yes.
And that usually supersedes most everything else, especially given the fact she hasn't been in a role of prominence over those 10 years.
Yes.
But what does this mean for Sasha Banks? Is there a story here, David Hero?
She's made. She can't be damaged.
Because she's the boss?
She's the boss. I mean, she sells a ton of merch. The fans still love her. It doesn't make a difference. For some people, wins and losses don't matter. Look at Roman Reigns.
Back to him.
It doesn't matter.
You know he's endorsed, by the way, Roman Reigns, as is Finn Balor.
But look at John Cena. He lost an entire year straight every pay-per-view.
You're not supposed to remember that. John Cena's losses and Triple H's losses don't matter because they buried everybody, remember?
Of course, yeah.
So even when they put people over and did great things, those don't matter because all they did was bury everybody.
I just think it is hilarious.
Hilarious?
Hilarious that people want to see Finn Balor fight Brock Lesnar.
Here we go. What?
I do.
Corey Graves said he'd like to see it.
Of course he would. He must not like Finn Balor very much.
It is a valid question, one that we've talked about. Who is credible enough, and I talked about this as I was live tweeting with you on Raw on Monday night, who is credible enough to be a believable enough opponent for Brock
Lesnar? One guy right now.
And without Braun Strowman, that one guy is who?
Bray Wyatt. He brings the most kabukiness and shenanigans to the match. He can do different things with lights going out, lights coming on, different scenarios, mind games. He has a different dimension to him. We've already seen how Roman Reigns fights. We've already seen how Seth Rollins dives. You know, he dives. He does it every match.
Talk about that later.
Samoa Joe could be very interesting for Brock Lesnar.
I think Samoa Joe's got some credibility and believability against Lesnar.
But I think the most entertaining match would be Brock and Bray Wyatt, because they've never finished what they started from the Orlando Royal Rumble.
So you say entertaining. Does that mean that Bray is actually credible and can be seen as a viable opponent, or just
Absolutely.
that it would be entertaining?
Bray Wyatt won the Elimination Chamber.
Oh, who remembers that?
Obviously I do.
Oh, historian. Forgot.
I'm a historian.
Here's the question. Why not Roman Reigns as a viable candidate for Brock Lesnar? He's the only other guy to beat The Undertaker.
We've already seen it.
That doesn't mean he's not.
And they're not going to do that at Great Balls of Fire. Why do you pop for that?
I can't believe they're calling a special event Great Balls of Fire. Why? They've got, in their library, they've got all kinds of stuff to pick from.
Do you know what it is? You know that somebody did it as a rib, as a joke, and they ran with it just to pop somebody.
Great Balls of Fire. Good. Who sang the song? Do you remember? Was it Linda might know. Linda? Jerry Lee Lewis. Maybe is he alive? Probably not.
Of course he is.
So he can't perform at the event.
He could.
Also on Raw, we saw The Miz get a win over Dean Ambrose in an Intercontinental Championship matchup, but Ambrose retains in that matchup. Now, another conversation that happened on Twitter this past Monday night was, who is a better champion between the two? Is it Ambrose or is it The Miz? And your quick thoughts, David Hero, on that.
I hate to say it, but The Miz is a better IC champion than Dean Ambrose. Hands down.
Because The Miz is awesome. The first ever endorsed talent. He would then go on to become WWE champion at WrestleMania and beat John Cena at WrestleMania.
Who cares about all this?
Now,
these are details.
Now, Now, I think the world is seeing The Miz is greatness in professional wrestling right now.
He's a ring general.
A ring general, and did you ever think, before saying it now, that you would say that about Mike Mizanin?
Mike Mizanin?
Sure.
No.
I say it differently.
And let's be honest, he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
There's no doubt about it. You know, I liken his career. We talked about how great Jericho's career has been. And while not as long and not as storied, The Miz has a comparable career. He started off as a bit of an underdog as the guest host of SmackDown, right?
What a nightmare that
and has just evolved into so much, and his character has evolved as well along with the times. Similarities to Jericho, similarities to Ric Flair, as I said a couple of weeks ago on this show. The Miz is awesome and great, and there's no doubt that he would be a more legitimate champion right now, Intercontinental champion, compared to a Dean Ambrose, and that's not knocking Ambrose. Overall thoughts, quickly, David Hero, on Raw this past Monday night. Pass, fail, good, bad?
It was a good show.
All right, with that, we're going to take a timeout. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to go to Linda Kay with this week's Event Center.
Please.
Thanks, David. It's going to be rocking in Chicago this weekend when NXT takes over Chicago Saturday night. Ringside with Jim Ross, Sunday afternoon at 2. And then, of course, Backlash Sunday night. All tickets and info is available at WWE.com.
Hey everybody, this is WWE Champion, Chicago's own straight edge superstar CM Punk, and you are watching PWR on My 24 Milwaukee.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime, episode number 808. Is that like Detroit Avenue in that song?
Yeah, it
808.
is.
It's A1A.
No.
Is it A1A Detroit Avenue?
A1A.
I should have stopped.
You did. Your street cred is now gone.
No, I listened, but I didn't collaborate.
But your street cred is
I've been on 8 Mile.
Have you?
Yeah, in Detroit.
Have too.
And you made it?
I was with Nash.
Oh.
He gave me the tour of Detroit. That's where he grew up.
Well, folks, it is time for this week's WWE SmackDown report. In the interest of time, I don't.
We had
the
Coney dogs.
SmackDown report, as it is every week, is brought to you by Fight TV. That's F-I-T-E, Fight TV, which brought you a great Ring of Honor pay-per-view last Friday night and continues to bring you great wrestling action. All you have to do is go to the website on your screen, fight.tv, that's FITE.tv/PWR, to get the free app. SmackDown this past Tuesday night, David Hero, big win for Jinder Mahal as he defeats AJ Styles. Granted, there were some shenanigans, but he got that win, and that win is on the record books.
You know what? It's even with the shenanigans in the finish, he was toe-to-toe with AJ Styles.
It was a great match.
I think
AJ could carry me to a good match. Well, that's how great AJ is.
That's asking for a lot.
Oh, AJ and I go way back.
Yeah, you do. But, I mean, Jinder Mahal, he was right there with him. He kept going, and
yeah, he toe-to-toe.
Jinder is going to be tough to beat on Sunday.
What?
He is.
Now we're going to be talking about the rest of Be the Booker tomorrow on Feedback Friday.
No, it's going to be, it's not going to be easy for Randy Orton.
Interesting.
You got the Bollywood boys there.
Yeah. Now, the credibility that Jinder has going into this matchup now on Sunday after the win over Styles is pretty spectacular, right?
That's why, yeah. I mean, that was a big win for him. He beat the MVP of SmackDown.
Now, last week on this very program, we talked to you about a video that had been released by WWE star Rusev, who said he would see us next week as he would come to Manchester, New Hampshire, to get answers as to his main event request for Money in the Bank. Unless I missed something, there was no Rusev on Tuesday.
He tweeted out he was at the Nashville Predators hockey game instead.
New Hampshire?
Nashville. He lives in Nashville.
Does he?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know him that well.
And the Usos continue to shine on SmackDown 5 days. David Hero is what they left us with this time.
What do you mean?
Do you think their promos are scripted at all? It takes a lot of coordination to do what they do.
A little bit, but I believe that they have a lot of input in it.
Yeah, and it works perfectly.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. And actually, we did talk about that earlier.
It's amazing,
yeah, we did.
You know how growth and maturity in wrestling comes along. When the Usos first came out with Tamina.
Little boys.
And I'm like, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And then, talking with their dad, Rikishi, he mentioned how things weren't going the way they wanted to. They might take time off. They stuck it out. They got the rub from John Cena, and they've been fantastic.
That they have been, and, well, SmackDown was what SmackDown was, David Hero. Your overall thoughts on the show from this past Tuesday night?
SmackDown did a great job of setting up Sunday's pay-per-view. They brought everything to where it needed to be.
That they did. It was a good 2-hour show from WWE this past Tuesday on SmackDown. With that, let's go into this week's hot news. And David Hero, you know, Randy Orton, who we just were talking about, took to Twitter late last week and caused a bit of a stir.
He did.
And he made a comment. Well, you know, I'd like to share with you something that Randy Orton shared on Twitter, verbatim, if you will. And we'll talk about what his comments were and how they've led to some interesting reaction from the wrestling world. So, and I quote Randy Orton on Twitter, sorry to the indie marks, indie guys, and old-timers who do dives took offense. Now, he had made some previous comments about the fact that too much is relied upon in the indie world that doesn't get over in the big boys world, if you will. So, and continuing his quote, he says, just having a good time over a few drinks in Denmark, closing out the SmackDown Live tour. While beating Raw and making over $5 million in the last 11 shows, now I know that to some that doesn't equate to a standing room only crowd of 150 people paying $8 at an armory somewhere. But in the big boy world, that's called putting asses in seats. So enjoy your flips, dives, and 20 super kicks per match. To each their own. I will go dive back into my 13th title run and get ready to flip when my bank statement comes this month. ... Headlock. You said it wasn't that bad. It's pretty scathing.
No, it's
against
not.
the independent wrestling scene. And a lot of younger wrestlers out there now.
Because they don't know how to work. That's
What do you
what
mean
he's
by
saying.
that?
They don't know how to tell a story. They don't know how to call an audible in the ring.
You know, it's something that we've heard from a lot of veterans in this business. And one of them who does a lot of training said that it's interesting when he does these indie shows and sees all these guys spending all this time going over their match, spot by spot by spot, move by move by move. Mm-hmm. Whereas guys like Randy Orton and guys back in the day, they barely spoke before going out to the ring to do what organically came to them as stars. They knew what the finish was. Yeah.
That was it.
And they worked towards it.
Now, I was in Vegas 2 weeks ago at Cauliflower Alley.
Oh, we know. $27,000. By the way, Linda's got some information for you tomorrow on Feedback Friday.
Oh, I'm sure she doesn't.
She has solicited some services to assist.
Can I finish? I did research while I was out there.
Oh, you finished in Vegas.
I did. Cowboy Bob Orton and I were talking. And I asked him, I go,
Randy's dad?
Randy's dad. And I says, hey, what does he think about the new NXT kids coming up and all that kind of stuff and just in general? And he mentioned that Randy wishes these guys would call more stuff in the ring, but they want to go over all their stuff in the back. And then if the audience isn't buying what they're selling, they don't know how to transition to do something else to get the audience back involved. And that's the problem with wrestling nowadays. I mean, I've done hundreds of shows over the years. And it's amazing when the guys sit in the back, and I'm not talking about the name talents, like the Al Snows, the Billy Gunns, the Cody Rhodeses, the Abysses, all them, the Nashes, whoever.
He endorsed Cody Rhodes.
But the indie guys, A through Z, and they memorize everything. Mm-hmm. And it just, that audience might not be interested in what they're doing. So they do all these amazing flips and dives and whatever else, but if the audience isn't into it, you're just wasting everybody's time.
And while they're doing that, they're getting all their
stuff in.
For the purpose of?
Themselves. And
ultimately that leads to? Short term.
Killing a town.
Bully Ray, who of course has worked for WWE, TNA, ECW, responded to Randy Orton saying the following, and I quote, I understand when it comes to wrestling psychology. I understand that what the perfect wrestling psychology is, but I also know that there are different genres and people like this new style of wrestling. People enjoy it. It's just like people enjoy movies like Fast and Furious. You go and buy a ticket to Fast and Furious just because you want to see somebody crash and burn. You're not paying because you want to invest in the story. Some people want to invest in sports entertainment, and some people want to invest in an entertaining sport, and everything in between. And I think that's what you're getting in the world of pro wrestling right now. And I can't understand why people are upset about 10 dives and 20 super kicks, because half the roster right now in WWE got their start doing that style. Valid point.
Oh, he's right.
And now Randy Orton is called out every time Seth Rollins and AJ Styles and pick whoever else does a dive or does 20 super kicks in a match. Well, the fact that he said this has now made fans like me notice and think of him every time you see them. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Who are you talking about here, Randall?
He's talking about the guys that do all the flips.
What about elbow drops? Where do those fall?
That's different.
Well, that is this week's hot news, folks. And with that, it's time now to go into the spoken word of one David Hero for those who may, well, nobody does care. So
of course they do.
And
let's be honest, this week's DWHS is going to be an extension of the Randy Orton tweet. Randy Orton isn't saying that dives are useless. What he's saying is they're overdone. When you have an 8-man tag and each person is diving to the outside in the opening match,
yes,
that makes it tough for matches 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to follow. When you have someone kicking out of 10 super kicks or 4 DDTs, finishers are now obsolete. There is no way to tell a story. There is no way to beat an opponent. What made false finishes exciting in wrestling is when you could beat somebody with the finish.
Yep.
Now it doesn't happen anymore. People are kicking out of everything. Hulk Hogan wouldn't have a career. Who could he beat the leg drop with? Mm-hmm. Nobody.
Yep.
A sleeper is not even a finish anymore. Figure 4, non-existent. So all of the main finishing moves are obsolete because they are now become transition moves. Billy Gunn's famouser, he beat The Rock with that. Mm-hmm. Dolph Ziggler can't beat anybody with it.
Anymore.
I think that's what Randy Orton's talking about, is that too much stuff is done. Instead of telling a story, they're trying to tell a story with moves, not with psychology and not with emotion. And with that, David Hero has spoken.
Interesting perspective. I'll take you back to the matchup between Miz and Dean Ambrose this past Monday night on Raw, where there were, and including their own finishers, at least 12 moves in that match that should have ended the match.
But at the same time, they both worked towards the Dirty Deeds and the skull-crushing finale. Mm-hmm. They tried to get it, and they couldn't until the very end.
Yeah. Yep. All right, well, thank you for that, David Hero, and thank you all for tuning in to us here on Channel 14 in Milwaukee. We want to remind you that we will be giving you an update on the draft rosters that you as fans submitted over the course of the last 2 weeks to us tomorrow on Feedback Friday. We'll also be sharing your comments that you have presented to us over the course of the last week. Linda Kay will be joining us, and it will be a very enjoyable show from my standpoint because of that fact. So
is she going to be like spouting off with that crazy verbiage she used last time?
That was her native language.
She's native?
Mr. Trump. No.
I thought she was Asian.
We'll see you tomorrow on Feedback Friday. For that one, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in.